like yours, and I was just on John B. Wells' Caravan of Midnight, just on Coast to Coast. I mean, there's the alternative media, and yet what's interesting is like major Christian TV, for instance, won't have me on. I mean, and I'm not saying sour grapes. Prophecy Watchers, Gary Stearman and Bob Ulrich, we're regulars there, and we have a relationship with those people. But a lot of the other shows won't touch it because it's just too negative, and we don't want to scare our people.
Right,
Well,
right.
you know what, folks? It's like it's getting to the point where unless we stand up and we start talking about these things, we're not doing our jobs. And I'm not a fear monger. What have I said that you can argue against tonight? For instance, the Fukushima disaster, getting back on track. Fukushima is an ongoing disaster. For those of you who don't know, there was a 9.1 earthquake off the east coast of Japan in the Fukushima prefecture a number of years back. It crippled the reactor, the Fukushima Daiichi reactor. We were told that the Japanese government, and TEPCO is the company that monitors the reactor and is responsible for its operation, that everything was fine. Don't worry about anything. It's all good. Nothing to see here. Keep going. Well, now we find out that not only reactor 4 is in meltdown, but reactor 2 is too. And that it's so hot there that if you're within a certain distance of the reactor for a certain period of time, you die instantly. If you're exposed to the type of radiation levels for longer than 45 minutes near reactor 2, you're dead. That's it. You're gone. You're toast. That's it. And what people don't understand is millions of gallons of radioactive water is being pumped into the Pacific Ocean and has been pumped into since the Fukushima disaster several years ago. Is it beginning to affect the Pacific Ocean? You bet. All day long, absolutely. Remember, the governments lie, they obfuscate, and you say, oh, that's preposterous. Our government would do that. How about when Carly Fiorina, who was running for president, stood up at the first debate, bully for Carly, and basically challenged Obama and Hillary Clinton to watch the Planned Parenthood video. Mm-hmm. Obama didn't. He just kind of chuckled and laughed and was real smug about it, with all due respect to POTUS. But that's what he was. And he started talking about a woman's right to choose, blah, blah, blah. Meanwhile, there's 1 billion aborted babies. Hillary did the same thing. Didn't comment, immediately deflected the conversation, steered the conversation over here to a woman's right to choose. That's not what we're talking about, Hillary. Face the issue. And, of course, they can't face the issue because their position is untenable. You can't defend cutting up a live baby from an abortion and selling its body parts. That's something out of Auschwitz that Mengele would have just loved and basically engaged in. Are you kidding me? So we see this type of lawlessness. There's a post I'll post tomorrow on the blog. It was on the front page of the Drudge Report. There's a anti-Donald Trump ad where these guys are talking about these Mexican kids are up there shaking their booties and acting real hip and cool and, doing the little dance numbers and flipping the bird and using the F-bomb basically in the video. And this is how far down the rabbit hole we went. And all you got to do, this is the voice of reason here, folks, in case you're wondering. They're yelling and screaming that there's no such thing as anchor babies, and how dare you call us anchor babies, which is a law that really needs to be changed. And all we have to do to shine the light on this is go, well, what if we do this? Let's just take randomly 1 million Americans and we'll go streaming across the southern border into Mexico over the weekend. How does that sound? And we'll demand citizenship, and let's see what happens. Let's just do that. How about we do that? Can we do that? And can we see what happens? And guess what? We will be rounded up, we'll be incarcerated, and we will be deported. That's what would happen in Mexico or any other country south of the border. But somehow these illegals, what about illegal, don't we understand, come into the country and completely tax our infrastructure. And I'm not people, Marzulli, that's a racist statement. No, it's not. It's not a racist statement at all. There's nothing racist about it. It's a fact that California is bankrupt because it won't deal with the millions of illegal aliens that in California, which tax the infrastructure, and that's why we're 10 in debt. And if you say that, somehow you're anti-Latino, you're a racist. No one's anything, man. My people came over here in 1898. I'm Italian, but they came over and they landed at Ellis Island. I mean, I've seen the documents. They did it legally. Do we need reform in the immigration system? Absolutely. But we also need to keep people out of the country from terrorist countries. Why can't we just do that? What's so hard about saying no to Saudi Arabians, including students? Sorry, can't come in the country. Iranians, sorry, can't come into the country.
Well, LA, it's part of a plan.
We can't do. We don't have the option to do that.
Let's look at it like this is the plan, because we see just it's been several months ago, probably 6 or so months ago, that the Pentagon lost $500 million worth of equipment in Saudi Arabia, and they did the same thing in Syria. They did the same thing in Lebanon. Look, the United States has become the weapons dealer of the world, and instead of just legally, instead of selling this equipment to these jihadists and everyone else who's fighting against Israel, they're leaving it there. They left it in Iran during the war, the Desert Storm. They left it in Iraq. They left them in Afghanistan. Now they're leaving them in Saudi Arabia. They've left them. Now they're training Syrians to use the weapons that they've left there. Come on. I mean, there is, and I speak about this quite a bit, and a lot of people say, well, you know what, Randall, aren't you afraid they're going to knock down your door? Look, I'm not afraid they're going to knock down my door. They know where I live. They know where you are, LA. They know where we are. They have faith that people are just too ignorant to understand that they would even believe that what I'm saying is a fact. But let's look at it the way it is. If you can't pull it over someone's eyes that you're going to send $500 million worth of tanks and helicopters and weapons to an insurgent country, then you just go and you have a war and you leave it there behind. And that's exactly what happened in Iraq, and now we have weaponized ISIS, if truly that's who they are. You understand what I'm saying? That's our weapons we're going over there and fighting. We are millions of dollars worth of weapons to blow up millions of dollars worth of our weapons that were left behind in Iraq. It just makes no sense to me whatsoever.
It makes no sense at all. It's all very deliberate. It's an orchestrated agenda. It's all about money, 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 money. The $1 trillion opium harvest last year in 2014. It'll be interesting to see what the 2015 opium harvest is this year. But someone profits from that. That's why we're over there. It's 14 years. Somebody makes $1 trillion off the opium harvest every single year. And the Afghan war is a joke. I've talked to our blood and treasure who have fought over there. These are young men and women who have come back, and I've spoken to several of them, and they've just looked me in the eye off the record and just said it's a joke. Yeah. It's just another Vietnam. It's an ongoing quagmire which will never end. And you see, the difference this year, Randall, is in the 60s, you had Walter Cronkite, right? Walter Cronkite. Right. Today in Afghanistan, today in Vietnam, 25 American soldiers were killed. Right. And that's what he would do every night. And they would give you the body count every night. How many of our blood and treasure, somebody's son.
Show film of it live from Vietnam. I remember. Yeah.
There you go. All that's gone. So the 6 o'clock news never tells you how many soldiers died in Afghanistan. They don't tell you that anymore. And the reason for that is the news is controlled. It's managed. It's a carefully managed agenda, as Chuck Misser likes to say. But it is. It's a carefully managed agenda. And they will not allow this, lest the American people awaken like we did in the 60s and push back. And we ended the war in Vietnam because we pushed back. I thought for a moment, I had a glimmer of hope that the church would push back when the Supreme Court decided arbitrarily through judicial fiat to make gay marriage the law of the land. The church did nothing.
Well, the church did nothing when they took prayer to schools either. The church did nothing when prayer was taken away from the schools.
Bingo. Same thing.
And that's the problem. You're right. It's the Laodicean church because it's, and Laodicean, it's just that la 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 la. Same thing happened in Rome. Nobody understands this, LA, and I know that you do. The ISIS, they look at the United States as the Roman Empire of this age.
It is. It's exactly what it is. It is the Roman Empire of this age, and it's crumbling from within.
And it's exactly our this is the nation of roads, right? Just like the ancient Roman Empire. It's the strongest nation in the world. We have military bases more than anyone else. We control the world's finances, the petrodollar. We have the infrastructure, just like ancient Rome, we have the same kind of governmental system that the ancient Romans have. We have the same thing happening in the church that happened in ancient Rome, the effemination of men, right? To making men effeminate and making this debauchery of the marriage relationship between a man and a woman the way God ordained it. And now we're seeing the same thing happen in the United States as happened in ancient Rome. Now ISIS, the Muslims, they want the United States to be pulled into that area because their prophecy says that the Roman Empire would be destroyed there in Syria. What is it, Dabiq? Right there in Syria. That's what if you'll notice at the beginning of this whole thing, it's almost like ISIS is doing goading the United States into ground war and a confrontation in Syria.
Well, we may have had a Sarajevo incident. I actually emailed my friend Gary Stearman over at Prophecy Watchers about this with the latest Russian airliner that killed, I think, 242 or 252 people. There may have been a bomb on board. We don't know.
I saw that.
And, ISIS has claimed responsibility for it, and there seems to be a flash right before the plane is brought down, according to the satellite that took that picture. But we don't know. We don't know what's really going on, and we've got to wait until there is an investigation and someone puts it together. But it is like a Sarajevo moment, Archduke Ferdinand being assassinated, and this may be, if ISIS did it, the retaliation. This may be the excuse for the U.S. I mean, look, this whole thing over there is charged, and I mean charged. We've never seen anything like it. The fact that Hamas and these crazy imams in places like Gaza and other places are yelling and screaming, stab a Jew. I mean, the rise of anti-Semitism, there's a whole chapter on that in the days of chaos.
And the United States uses Hamas like Turkey uses the Kurds.
It's unbelievable. It is just unbelievable where we are. And if these aren't the days of chaos, I mean, I don't know what is. You mentioned the petrodollar, and that's really interesting because that's another chapter in the days of chaos. Yeah. And the reason for this is we've been on the United States petrodollar is the currency in which oil is traded. Mm-hmm. And so the reason why Saddam was whacked, the reason why we went in there, was not because of weapons of mass destruction. He didn't have any weapons of mass destruction. Yes, he had gas and he gassed the Kurds. Okay, I get that. But, I mean, he didn't have what we were told he had. It was a joke. The reason why we went in is because Saddam was trading oil for euros. Oh, can't do that.
That's right.
And that's why he got whacked.
And people not realizing that when we went off of the yellow gold standard, and this is how I like to say it, we went on to the black gold standard. We're still on gold, but it's not the yellow gold anymore. It's the black gold. We're on the gold standard. People don't understand exactly what happened when Nixon made that deal with Saudi Arabia for protection for dealing in petrodollars. It set up the world's economy into a one world currency. I don't care if you call it a euro, you call it a dollar. It's all traded in petrodollars. Oil is the money.
Oil dollars.
And
so the idea that the BRICS nations, Brazil, Russia, India, China, and South Africa, are trying to move the default currency from the petrodollar to the Chinese yuan is incredibly telling. And people talk about Shemitah and nothing happened in Shemitah. Are you kidding me? $19 trillion in debt, and that's deliberate. The debt has doubled under Obama. He has spent more money and put us in harm's way financially than any other president before him. It is unprecedented what is going on in this country. And the fact that you've got Boehner and McConnell and now, what's his face in there, nothing is going to change. And this is why the American people have had it up to their collective eyeballs with the Washington weasels and the liberal media.
Because FDR set it up with a New Deal. This has taken place since Israel. Well, let's look at it. What really happened in World War I? You had the genocide of Christians and Jews in Syria, right? Armenia.
Armenia, sure.
And then so in World War I, there's genocide, and that drew all of the world into a world war. In World War II, Germany and the genocide of the Jews and the Holocaust. That drew the whole world into a world war. There's a Holocaust coming in. People don't understand that, because if there is a world war, there's going to be a Holocaust to draw it in.
Yeah.
This is what we're looking at. It's not going to be a disaster. It's going to be beheading, and it's what's happening in the Middle East right now. It's going to be an all-and-out manifestival, actually, on a certain group of people. And you know who that group of people is going to be. It's going to be the Jews and the Christians.
Yeah, yeah. And it already is happening. I mean, the atrocities that are going on, the intel that's coming across my desk